I'm not sure I would describe myself as cool, but I could be hotter. Hello, welcome back. Today's video is how I attempt to keep cold with cold urticaria. If you don't know, I live in the UK and we are not good with heat. So it's currently hitting highs of about 30 degrees Celsius or about 88 to 90 degrees Fahrenheit. And we are all not okay. We don't have air conditioning in our homes and our buildings are made to keep the heat in. I've just turned off my fan and shut my windows for this and I'm already not okay. But it's fine, we power through. So I have a condition called cold urticaria, which essentially means I'm allergic to cold. And that makes keeping cool in the heat very difficult. And a lot of people really love the heat, but I also have a condition called postural orthostatic tachycardia syndrome. And that is exacerbated by heat, and if you don't know what that means basically my heart rate decides to go really fast sometimes and my blood pressure drops and I pass out. So heat for me means lots of fainting, lots of nausea, lots of not feeling great. So I have to keep cool, but being allergic to cold makes that difficult. So here are my top tips on how I try to make this better. Top tip number 1, the most important tip that I have for you is to take your medication. So if you want to know what medication I take for cold urticaria, I'll put a link up here to what medication I take at the moment. I just take antihistamines effectively, and I have an inhaler for occasional use if I'm having an allergic reaction that involves my lungs and my airway. Taking that medication is super important, and it kind of allows me to do a little bit more in terms of cooling down. The next thing that I do to keep cool is I make sure that I'm wearing clothing that covers me, like this shirt. You can't really see much of it. It's covering the parts of me that are most susceptible to come up in a rash if it gets cold. They are loose and they are light coloured, so they're going to hopefully be reflecting a lot of that heat. They're not going to be clinging to me and they're not going to be making me hotter than I need to be. It also means that my skin isn't super exposed, so I'm not getting all the sun on my skin, which is going to make me even hotter. I also do have tattoos, and a lot of them are black and the sun. They heat up more, so I tend to keep them covered to keep me cool. But while I'm covered, this then means that I can use my fan. Ta-da! This has been getting me through the last couple of days. He's my best friend, I think. I use this on the lowest setting because the highest setting will still cause me problems. And I'm not wearing a mask in my house right now because I have an indoor thermometer. It's 31 degrees in my bedroom. At least the plants are happy. But even the highest setting on this will cause me problems, so it generally makes my face hurt and give me a bit of a headache. It can give me a rash on my hotspot areas for cold urticaria, so I generally just keep it kind of breezy and lower speed, like this. It is so hot, I'm struggling. So those are the 3 things that I have been doing 24/7 to really try and keep cool and try not to die, effectively. So the next things are kind of smaller things that are kind of a desperate attempt, perhaps. And they're just sort of basic tips on keeping cool no matter whether you're allergic to cold or not. So sit in the shade. Sit in the rooms in your house that are much cooler. Even if that is somewhere weird like the basement that you never use, or the bathroom, or the stairway, it doesn't really matter, just sit somewhere cooler. My room has the sun pointing directly into it for most of the day, so I don't sit in here. And also doing things like avoiding the peak sun, so trying not to go out between, I think it's like 11 and 3 where it's going to be at its hottest, and I avoid going out. I try and stay in my house if at all possible. You can do things like shut your curtains and leave the windows open, but if you wake up and the room is cool, don't open the windows, it's a trap. I made that mistake. I just let all the warm air in and the cold air out, and that was really not fun. for me. I avoid public transport if I can, but if I have to get on a bus, I sit at the back, because when you're moving forward, more air flow comes into the back, so there's a bit more of a breeze, and being covered up, and especially wearing my mask, because right now, please still wear your mask. That really sort of helps. I can be a lot cooler back there than I can at the front of the bus. And because I take my meds properly and I'm really diligent with them, I tend to operate on a reaction reduction rather than reaction elimination. So there are reactions that I will tolerate if it means that I can generally keep myself cool and not trigger a POTS flare. For example, drinking cold drinks. Normally, when we're not in a heat wave, I avoid these and I stick to room temperature or just like cold tap water, but right now I'm finding that really difficult. So I am drinking some iced drinks, and yes, Max, aren't you allergic to cold? Haven't you been saying that you can't do that? Yes, I have. Can't was probably a bit of an exaggeration. I can't do it without my mouth itching and feeling a little bit tight sometimes. Sometimes it will make me wheeze, especially if the rest of the environment is very cold too. But that is a reaction that I will take right now, and to stop myself having any more of a reaction than I have to, I will insulate the glass that I'm holding. So I will use a flannel or a tea towel or the sleeve of my jumper or the sleeve of my shirt. I will use something to hold that drink, and I will use a paper straw. Mostly because I don't want lips to swell up and be itchy and feel horrible if I can help it, and I can. It just means that the inside of my mouth is going to be a little bit itchy, and possibly my throat as well, but from the glass to my mouth, that's going to warm up really quickly. And if it's warm before I swallow it, that really helps too. And you can use this for things like ice lollies as well, so those ice pop things, Mr. Freeze Pops, whatever. If you wrap something, like use something to wrap, I've used a glove before. Insulating those means I can still eat them if it's incredibly hot, but I do prefer to eat an ice lolly with a stick so that my hands are not coming up in itchy welts and hives and swelling up. It's just my mouth. Adorable. And things like if I'm gonna put an ice pack in the bed to cool down the bed, I will wrap it in something first so it's not a block of ice at the end of my bed, it's a slightly cooler thing that I can put my feet on. Bonus points if it's not too cold and then won't set off a reaction but is colder than the ambient air. That's always nice. There are plenty of things you can use if you use them well to reduce your reactions, and I'm not going to say that you will not have any reactions. Something else I find really weirdly helpful is to eat a lot of fresh fruit. Now, not everyone has access to fresh fruit. I, a lot of the time, can't afford things like fresh fruit, but I indulged in a punnet of raspberries yesterday and it was very refreshing. Whether it was cooling or not, it gave me the illusion of feeling a little bit colder, especially because they had come out of the fridge. So they were cold, but also didn't really set off a reaction anywhere else. It was just a nice refreshing snack. In weather like this, my I can't drink the drinks out of the chiller kind of goes out the window, because if I don't drink something cold, I will overheat and then I will be really unwell with my heart rate and I will be unconscious and we will not be having a good time. So it's about prioritising my medical conditions here, and cold urticaria doesn't win on this occasion. So yes, a gentle fan, covering with loose clothing, taking your medication, the most important parts of that, and then everything else is a bonus. I always try to make sure I have something that I can wrap a cold thing in when it's hot like this. So a flannel will go with me in my bag with my emergency medical stuff in that pocket of my bag. There'll be a flannel or a pair of gloves or just something thick to hold the cold things. It's kind of picking what do I want to suffer with. And I'd rather suffer with a cold urticaria reaction because I've been dealing with that for 10, 11 years now. I think I've dealt with about 6 straight months of hotness in my entire life. So I'm more used to this. This is okay. And a lot of the time, cold urticaria is unavoidable, so I have just become used to that. Fan break. I don't know if you can hear the fan or if you can hear me over the top, but in this hot weather, make sure that you stay hydrated and stay safe, and don't forget your sun cream. That's going to be it for me today because I need to stop. It's too hot. So don't forget to like this video. If you have any tips for keeping cool without getting cold, for those of us who are allergic, please drop them down in the comment section below and I will give them a go, and maybe if I get enough of them I will rate them in a video. Subscribe to my channel if you haven't already and ring that notification bell so you get notified every single time I post a new video. Videos go up every Saturday at 6 PM UK time with at least one bonus video every single month. See ya!